December 27th, 2025. A winter storm sweeps across the eastern United States. Every major airline takes a hit. United cancels roughly 200 flights. Delta cancels around 180. American Airlines cancels nearly 1,900. Not in a week, in a single day. Passengers sleeping on terminal floors, gate agents overwhelmed and in tears, bags piling up on carousels that stopped moving hours ago. By the time the storm cleared 5 days later, American had cancelled nearly 6,800 flights, more than 43% of its entire schedule. United and Delta had recovered within 48 hours. American was still cancelling flights on New Year's Eve. When CEO Robert Isom was asked about it, he said that dealing with difficult weather was simply part of the job. The response was so tone-deaf that within weeks, 28,000 American Airlines flight attendants issued a unanimous vote of no confidence in their own CEO. Not a strike threat, not a pay dispute. A vote of no confidence. The kind of public declaration that says, "This airline is being driven off a cliff, and we refuse to go quietly." And the numbers tell you exactly why. American Airlines reported full-year 2025 net income of $111 million on revenues of $54.6 billion. That is a profit margin of 0.2%. Delta Airlines in the same year posted $5 billion in profit. For every $1 billion in revenue American generated, it kept roughly $2 million in profit. Delta kept $79 million. On the same revenue, from the same industry, in the same year. And here is what makes this story so important if you live in the United States. American Airlines is not some niche carrier you can simply avoid. It operates the largest domestic route network in the country. If you have ever flown out of Dallas, Charlotte, Miami, or Philadelphia, there is a good chance American was your only realistic option. You are, in many cases, a captive customer of an airline that is structurally failing. And the reason it is failing goes back much further than a bad winter storm. It goes back to a series of decisions made during the best years American ever had. Decisions that one man made, walked away from, and left everyone else to clean up. November 29th, 2011. AMR Corporation, the parent company of American Airlines, files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It is a humiliating moment for one of the most storied brands in American aviation. Pan Am had collapsed. TWA had been absorbed. Eastern had vanished. And now American, the last of the original legacy carriers still operating under its own name, was in bankruptcy court. But here is the thing about bankruptcy that most people miss. Done right, it is not a death sentence. It is a reset. Airlines that go through Chapter 11 emerge with their debts restructured, their labour contracts renegotiated, and their cost base slashed to something competitive. Delta had done exactly that in 2005. United had done it too. Both came out the other side with a fighting chance. When American emerged from bankruptcy in December 2013, it did so through a merger with US Airways. And the man who engineered that merger, US Airways CEO Doug Parker, became the CEO of the combined entity, the world's largest airline. The timing could not have been better. The years immediately following the merger coincided with a historic boom in air travel, a collapse in oil prices, and an era of record industry profits. Airlines were printing money. The question was, what to do with it? Delta used its profits to pay down debt, invest in the customer experience, and build a loyalty program that would eventually generate billions independent of ticket sales. American took a different path. Under Parker, the airline spent over $12 billion buying back its own stock. Not investing in the product, not paying down the debt it had just emerged from. Buying back stock, largely to boost the share price and the value of the executive compensation packages tied to it. And to fund those buybacks, the airline kept borrowing. Here is a number that should make every American Airlines passenger furious. When Doug Parker retired in 2022, American was carrying $37 billion in total debt. That is nearly 5 times what Delta carried at the same time. It is more debt than American had when it first emerged from bankruptcy 9 years earlier. He took an airline that had just been reset through bankruptcy, loaded it back up with more debt than it started with, then retired with over $50 million in total compensation and handed the keys to someone else. That debt did not just burden American's balance sheet, it consumed it. Today, American pays close to $2 billion a year in interest alone. To put that in terms you can feel, that is enough money to buy more than 200 brand new Boeing 737s. Every single year. Gone. Not on new aircraft, not on better seats, not on training or technology or lounges. On interest payments for decisions made during the good years. That is the foundation every subsequent CEO has had to build on. By 2023, Robert Isom was inheriting a $37 billion debt mountain with almost no room to maneuver. And rather than stabilizing the airline, his team made a decision that would accelerate the decline. In April 2023, American launched what it called its new distribution capability strategy. The idea was simple on paper. Push customers to book directly through American's website, cutting out the travel agencies that had traditionally sold their tickets. Remove the middlemen, keep more revenue per ticket. The problem was how they did it. American pulled 40% of its fares from the booking systems travel agencies relied on. If an agent could not find a fare, they could not sell it. So they sold something else. A United ticket. A Delta ticket. Anything but American. American also dismantled much of its corporate sales team, signalling to the business travel market that it no longer needed to be courted. Corporate travellers, the most lucrative passengers in aviation, found themselves cut off or pushed toward channels American had deliberately made less attractive. The industry pushed back hard. The American Society of Travel Advisors called the strategy extremely aggressive, and corporate bookings collapsed to 11% below their historical share. By May 2024, barely a year in, American stock dropped more than 13% in a single day, its biggest single-day fall since the pandemic. Isom fired the architect of the strategy, Chief Commercial Officer Vasu Raja, and admitted publicly that American had moved faster than they should have. The strategy was reversed, but the damage was done. $1.5 billion in lost revenue in a single year. And you cannot undo that overnight. Corporate accounts take time to win back, and every month those travellers spent flying Delta or United, they were building miles, status and habits that American would have to work twice as hard to break. Now let us talk about something that affects every single American who has ever collected airline miles. Because the contrast between how Delta and American have managed their loyalty programs tells you almost everything you need to know about where these two airlines are headed. Delta's SkyMiles program is backed by a deep partnership with American Express. In 2024, Delta generated $7.4 billion in cash from that partnership alone. Members earn miles on every dollar they spend, whether they are buying groceries, paying their phone bill, or booking a hotel. Delta gets paid every time. regardless of whether those members ever board a plane. It is essentially a financial services business that also happens to operate an airline. American's A-Advantage program is backed by a deal with Citibank and also generates billions. But American has consistently used that loyalty revenue not to invest in the program, but to plug holes elsewhere in the business. Over the past 5 years, American has repeatedly devalued A-Advantage miles. Award redemption rates have gone up. The best seats have become harder to book with miles. And the Admiral's Club Lounge network, which should be a premium differentiator, has become notorious for overcrowding. Frequent flyers describe Admiral's clubs at peak hours as worse than the general terminal. Delta, meanwhile, has invested heavily in its Sky Club Lounge network and its premium onboard product. And it has earned something that cannot be bought overnight: genuine brand loyalty. J.D. Power ranked Delta first in both business class and premium economy customer satisfaction in 2025. American finished last. On the same survey, answered by the same travellers. While American was making all of these decisions, Delta was doing something almost unfairly brilliant. It was quietly transforming itself from an airline into a financial ecosystem, one where the planes are almost incidental to where the real money is made. By 2025, premium cabin sales and loyalty programs combined accounted for nearly 60% of Delta's total revenue. Think about that. Economy class, the seats most people picture when they think of flying, is no longer even the primary driver of Delta's income. And when a recession hits and leisure travellers stop flying, Delta's corporate accounts and credit card revenue provide a floor that American simply does not have. Delta also made a strategic bet on premium cabins that American famously reversed. In the Parker era, American decided its 777s and 787s were too premium heavy and spent millions adding more economy seats. Delta went the other direction. It expanded premium seating, invested in Delta One business class, and built a lounge network that corporate travellers now plan their itineraries around. By 2027, Delta projects premium cabin revenue will exceed main cabin revenue entirely. American, meanwhile, is still trying to fill the economy seats it added when it stripped out the premium ones. Corporate travel tells the same story. While American was alienating its corporate accounts, Delta was deepening those relationships. A travel manager who switched from American to Delta in 2023 did not switch back when American reversed course. You do not undo a year of disruption with a press release. The road back for American is longer than its leadership has publicly acknowledged. There are genuine reasons for optimism. The hub network at Dallas, Charlotte, Miami, and Philadelphia gives American structural advantages that cannot be replicated overnight. A-Advantage still generates billions. And ISOM has acknowledged the distribution mistake and begun rebuilding corporate relationships. But the debt remains. $37 billion does not dissolve because the airline is making better decisions today. Every dollar going toward interest is a dollar not spent on seats, lounges, or reliability. The exact investments Delta has compounded over a decade into a lead that keeps widening. And American's forecasting record makes it hard to be confident. In 2023, it projected earnings of $3 to $3.25 per share. It closed the year at 29 cents. In 2024, it projected $2.25 to $3.25. It ended at $1.70. That is not bad luck. That is a structural gap between what the airline hopes to achieve and what its cost base allows. Delta's $5 billion profit in 2025 was not a windfall. It was the predictable output of a machine built deliberately over more than a decade. Choices American had every opportunity to make and chose not to. So the next time you are on an American flight, watching the departure board tick past your scheduled time, bags in the aisle, gate agent nowhere to be found. Remember this. The airline spent $12 billion on stock buybacks instead of fixing this. Its executives made hundreds of millions during those years. And you, the passenger, got the bill. So what do you think? Can American close the gap with Delta? Or has it grown too wide to ever close? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would mean a lot.